Hi everybody, this is Anna Maria, and if you're watching this video, you're either with us live or you're watching the recording. Either way, thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate it. And we are starting by discussing what is the opposite of a wise healer. First of all, let us share with you how Kane and I came up with that terminology, a wise healer. Kane and I were doing a podcast together on my YouTube channel at Luna Voda Coaching, and we were so caught up in the discussion when the question emerged. And I asked Kane, "So how do you become a wise healer?" And he paused and he started reflecting. And this is how the concept of a wise healer was born, from that reflection. Oh wow, so how do you go from a wounded healer to a wise healer? In the discussions leading to this event, Kane and I had multiple discussions, and throughout these discussions, we were discussing what is our personal understanding of a wise healer. And as you know, sometimes it is easier to zoom out and look at what you already know. Most of you here are advanced healers, and you have read many books, and many of us, I imagine, are healers in your own world. And you might be familiar with the concept of the wounded healer as referred to Carl Jung. The concept of the wounded healer suggests that many of us who become coaches, therapists, or even entrepreneurs who are driven by purpose have been heavily wounded in our childhood. Whether this stemmed from trauma, emotional or physical abuse, or any sort of hardship. And this is how we develop compassion, empathy, and understanding of other people's challenges. So while wise healers truly become the most empathetic healers, the challenge that we witness, and I have worked with multiple clients with this challenge, is when you know exactly what to tell others, you always have amazing advice, you always know what is the right thing to do, you always have so much compassion for others, and yet in your personal life you may experience people pleasing, lack of boundaries, lack of energy, feeling taken for granted, experiencing bitterness, not feeling appreciated or valued or recognized, having difficulties containing financial abundance, having guilt receiving compensation for your gifts, or intellectually knowing everything that you need to do and still not fully embodying that transformation. And finally, the final aspect is truly that lack of congruency between how you show up for others and how you show up for yourself. So with that said, can you unpack how do wise healers show up for themselves versus how do wounded healers show up for themselves?
This is such there's such a big difference in the two, in what it feels like in your body. And why I want to talk about the feeling of it is because when there's this wounded aspect, you've gone into this healing, like in my experience. I was very attuned and sensitive to energy at a very, very young age. And I got squished a lot from a very young age. You know, no one had understood me. And there were wounds that created a fundamental aspect of me wanting to break out and have a voice. So during many, many, many years of when I decided at the age of 15 that I was going to break out and have my own voice and start standing up for my own self, there were wounded aspects inside of me that I didn't understand, I didn't really get, but I created a push towards what I wanted to achieve. And in that push, you tend to forget about the things that are underlying in the subconscious, and you'll self-sabotage in certain areas. I mean, I was in the film and entertainment industry for many, many, many years, and up and down in success. I would have huge moments of success where I was booked out everywhere, and then I would just be like a desert, looking for work, going, what was wrong with me? And not truly understanding the concepts of unraveling the true essence of my soul. the true aspect of my purpose. I already knew my purpose from a very young age, which was to help people. The aspect as I've grown into coaching and transformation and having a deeper understanding about my own self, even though I had a deeper understanding about myself from a very young age, going into certain books that opened my mind, because that's who I was surrounded by in the arts. Everyone, so many people in the arts are absorbed with the universe and energy. Everything is energy. Everything is a reaction. You're responding to someone else's energy, and that's the basis of any type of acting, any form of art, even dancing. You're responding to someone else's energy. So in understanding all of that, what was missing in me was this true aspect of my own love. Like there was always looking for the admiration. There was always looking for someone to tell me that I was good, to applaud me, for me to feel like I had love in me. So that wounded aspect is always looking for the outside resources to demonstrate that you have some sort of success, which then you think subconsciously or consciously that you're getting love. You're getting some sort of love because you're succeeding at something. And, you know, that success could be a mother. That success of getting the attention of your children could be part of that. That's how I'm getting love. Rather than completely embodying the true aspect of what love is that love comes from ourselves. So the criticisms that you can get from the outside world, if you're still in that state of a wounded healer, can deflate you really, really quickly. You'll question yourself, you'll question your movements, you'll wake up with the thought of that criticism still circling in your own mind. And sure, there's always value in someone else's perspective, but is it true? And that's the core aspect of once we start moving towards a wise healer, and it is a movement. Let's be clear that becoming a wise healer isn't just a snap of your fingers and all of a sudden you're there and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a wise healer. Brilliant. I can see the world in a totally different view. It is the unraveling. It is the going deeper. Now, we just had a full moon. And so far, I've asked a few people about the experience in the last week, and everyone's had some sort of experience of going deeper inside themselves. Myself the same. I uncovered something associated to my 12-year-old boy inside myself, which was just another unraveling of seeing a certain block that was still there, subconsciously associated to my father. Now, that's deep stuff, and just associated to one little event in my life. But that's the aspect of me being able to go there's something here, there's something going on there, going and having someone else view my blind spot so we can work together and go, there it is, that's what it is. And not putting myself down about it, but being in that state of celebration of going, okay, so I need to heal this little aspect of me. And this is the beautiful step towards this wise healer, where we can look at ourselves, our story, our journey in our lives, so we can truly witness the certain causes of our subconscious behaviors, which creates that fear of success, that creates the abandonment fears, that we're going to be like, if we go into a relationship, are they truly going to love me? Well, if you're loving yourself deep down, embodied in that love, you should be able to feel the giving of your love to someone else. And you'll be able to notice when that love isn't really being received, because it's all energy. We should be getting into a state where we are able to actually feel the people around us, not just by touch, but by the energy itself. That you can feel when someone is down, when you can feel that someone needs just that little bit of support from you. And that is truly And again, it's not looking for admiration. We're past that place of being this wounded healer, of seeking the approval, seeking that we are enough, seeking some sort of success that is outside of us, rather than knowing that to have true success, we have to build the inside first and have the open window of true visualization of our own journey, to be able to witness ourselves, not from a state of victimhood or pain, but actually see that the journey was there as an evolution of our own existence to place us into a place that we can then lead others, because we can't lead anyone else unless we're truly leading ourselves, to be able to be a witness of our own weaknesses, that we can then shift into a more powerful force within our own selves. So we can use that as the example to demonstrate to other people what is possible.
And speaking of what is possible, before we continue, and I would like to summarize some of the key points Kane made, because there's so many, and I believe they are very helpful. I'm really curious. I saw that Andrea mentioned, I just experienced it yesterday. Andrea, could you elaborate, either by muting yourself or in the chat, when you say experienced it, what do you refer to?
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Last night I had my monthly women's circle, the sister circle, and I've been doing so many things. I'm launching a chakra program, and I was in a speech contest, and I'm taking care of two friends who had major surgery. And I've been, really doing the marketing and not just pushing, like also like passionate about, like I want to talk about it, draw people in. But because I had all these other people pulling me different demands, it looked like nobody was coming. And it was like 7 o'clock, we're starting at 7:30. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I work so hard and nobody's coming. Like, I'm a failure. I'm just a failure at this. And why I should just quit. But what happened, because I'm also an actress, so it's a great gift to study theater, because you learn to identify your emotions. So I was like, and I was feeling so down all day, like heavy, and I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, and then I was like, oh, I'm disappointed. I work so hard, and I feel I'm disappointed. And that's bringing up emotion right now, just to notice. But then it was like, and I felt like I was a failure. And I was like, but I'm not a failure. I just had too many different things going on, and maybe I shouldn't have had it on Passover, because next time I won't have a circle on Passover, because everybody's going to Passover. So I went from feeling almost like I want to quit coaching, I want to quit circles, because I just don't know how to do the marketing. I don't know how to bring people in. But thank God I recognized that my heart was I was judging myself. And then I started feeling down, but I'm glad that I noticed it, and I brought myself back up. And then 6 women came, and they said, this is the best circle ever. And then I went out dancing in the full moon, friend's birthday, and in my old stomping grounds, and it just shifted everything. So I really experienced it big time.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Andrea, for sharing that. And can everybody tell us in the chat, #evolve, if what Andrea so bravely shared with us resonated with you? Because let's raise our hands if we have ever doubted our potential, if we have ever allowed these toxic thoughts, am I good enough? Do people even like me? What's the point of doing that? And let me tell you something that is going to blow your mind, all of you, and is going to radically change the way you do marketing, especially those of you who are females. Well, first of all, there's there is human design, and some of you are familiar with that concept. And even if you're not, the thing is that when you become a wise healer, even if you have never done human design reading in your life, you are living by design or not. And when we live by designs, especially many of us who are healers are projectors in the human design, and we are naturally born to be healers, coaches, leaders, and so forth. Or if you have the profile of a role model, this is a fascinating topic, so I'm not going to go too deep. However, what I want to tell you that, as I promised, is going to blow your mind and radically shift the way you do marketing. Tap into your divine energy. Kane is going to unpack in just a second what does it mean to tap into your feminine energy as a male. However, I, as a woman who is also very much in sync with my feminine energy, I'm here to tell you that magnetism is how you attract the right people for you. As a wise healer, and this comes from my experience, I've been a coach for 7 years and I have made all of the mistakes, aka lessons. Let me tell you, when you try to be for everyone, you are depleting yourself, you're stretching yourself to thin, and then you feel disappointed because you create unmatched vision of how success looks for you, and your soul is not in alignment, because many of us have been fed this popular marketing idea that you're only successful if you have hundreds of followers or hundreds of clients or whatever it is, the metric, the vanity metric. And I'm here to tell you that you can create a business model that is very prosperous for you, even if you work with less people, and even if you work less time. And the reason I told you that this is going to blow your mind is because many of us have been taught to work, and wounded healers fall into this paradigm. What happens when a wounded healer falls into a paradigm of working, being here for this person, being here for this person, being there for their partner, being there for their children, being there for their neighbors, being there for their friends, being there for their business? What happens? You burn out. You totally burn out, because you're not supposed to be a person for every person. You're just not supposed to be for everyone. So when you let go of that burden that you have to do all the things and you have to show up all of the time, and you relax and you literally sit comfortably in your manifestation chair, and you tell the universe, I'm ready to receive. What's meant for me is going to Susan, what's meant for me is going to find me. I'm going to be in my manifestation chair. I'm going to send positive energy to the universe, and I'm going to receive. And this is how we become wise healers. When we leverage our time, we leverage our energy. We become the prize, in the sense that we know that we're not for everyone. So the right people recognize us, the right people find us, the right people come to us. And just to finish, in the context of becoming a wise healer, and to sum up what Kane said, so that those of you who are more cerebral, who are taking notes, I want to make sure that we give you action steps. So ultimately, to sum up what Kane and I talked about, Kane talked about releasing the roller coaster. This is when one day you are super high, the other day you feel disappointed, you feel like a failure, you feel like you're not good enough. So this emotional roller coaster. The second thing is to release the financial roller coaster. 1 month you live in a total feast, the other month is a total famine. So you are expanding and shrinking, expanding and shrinking. A wise healer knows how to sustain their results. And the final step is to be in sync with your feminine and masculine energies, because usually we are in these ups and downs if we are not balanced. We are not balanced in how we manage our time, how we manage our emotions, how we manage our manifestation, if you wish, and how we manage our ability to be spontaneous, fluid, and intuitive and wise, while we're also able to project healthy boundaries, in the sense that we are not for everyone, and take care of ourselves, having a full cup.
Anna Maria, there's that one of the key things that you expressed was receive, and being, as there's a lot of women here, receiving is the aspect of that divine feminine, and in a man, the receiving is the feminine. It's being in touch with that feminine aspect to be able to create, go and create something, use that body form that the masculine has, and create the foundations of what is necessary to move forward. But being able to also be open emotionally and energetically on the receiving aspect, and feeling, it all stems to feeling your own love for the own things that you're doing, right? Not looking for someone else to tell you that you're good at what you're doing, or that you're doing a really good job. It's the appreciation that you have inside your own self. And look, don't get me wrong, you could be in a relationship that doesn't have that give and take type of expression of that free flowing. You're playing on the same field together, where you're feeling like you're giving so much, and the feminine is discount. I'm speaking from a male point of view, and the female is discounting what you're doing, and then you don't feel validated by that person. You don't feel like you're part of a team. I've been a friend of mine and coach. We've been having discussions about divine feminine and divine masculine, and the communication that women can really bring in to their relationships to open up the heart of a man. And one of those key aspects is that men, at the end of the day, that masculine still wants to feel like he is there for a reason. So whether or not you're a male working in this industry, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're a leader of some sort, it's that masculine desire to feel needed, that we have purpose within a relationship, within a career, within your business, that there is a particular purpose that we're sinking down into. And as Anna Maria was saying, that the marketing as such, if you're not truly aligned to that, for the women, truly aligned to your feminine, that sexual energy, that self-worth, that free flowing ability to express your emotions and express your feelings, and not allowing that to come out because some male marketing person told you need to be in this little box over here, that can really keep you constrained in demonstrating your true value for the world of what you're actually here to do. And Anna Maria is very deep into human design. But from the masculine point of view, we do get caught up in the structure. So we're constantly looking, well, just give me the steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and that balance of trying to sit back into the feminine, to open that heart, to open that receiving, is especially in a relationship. And as one of my mentors said, if someone's having troubles in their business, the first place that they look is what's going on in the relationship.
Yes.
Because the relationship is going to be reflecting what's actually happening for you on your business, out in the world, in your career. Because there's going to be a second guessing of your own self, and the actions that you're taking forward, because you're not feeling there's some sort of love that's missing there. You're not getting some sort of need met that feels you like that you can be courageous. And in that courageousness, that, especially for a man, that courageousness of being open, of being, and it's a topic that we're going to be covering, but authentic. It's really difficult for men to actually be emotionally authentic. This is part of becoming a wise healer. If you're a coach, or if you're in that healing industry, being a man or a female practitioner dealing with a man can be confronting as well, because you need to have those right keys to be able to unlock that little heart of his that is wanting to come out. You need to ask the right questions and hold the right space and make them feel safe. Because at the end of the day, whether or not you're a masculine or you're feminine, they both want safety.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in that safety that we can truly be authentic, so we can be vulnerable. Because it's in that vulnerability, as a wise healer, it's in that vulnerability, the reflection of the journey that we can discover that it was okay. So look, I've been sexually assaulted, but I can look back on that and go, hey, it's okay that I was sexually assaulted, because that was actually a part of my growth. Did I have to learn how to forgive? Absolutely. Did I have to actually appreciate and shift my perspective of what that meant? Absolutely. That's all part of being that wise healer.
Mm-hmm.
If I was a wounded healer and I hadn't dealt with that particular circumstance, and I had a client or I had someone, a friend, and they expressed that they had been sexually assaulted, it would trigger me. And I wouldn't know which way to take them because I hadn't experienced it for myself. And from a male point of view, having that ability to receive someone's energy, so this is a really important key to it for any man, to be able to receive from that feminine place someone else's energy, whether they're going through a struggle, that they feel like they're being heard, so they feel like they're being seen in a place of safety. Because sitting, and again, and this can be male or female, if you're trying to receive someone and you're in a masculine energy, you'll create a block because it's too rigid, rather than being in flow of the moment of just receiving someone else's energy and allowing whatever spontaneously comes up for them so they can feel safe to express. So you can then feel safe to hold that energy for them. So you can allow and have the space to be able to transcend that energy. Because then the masculine can step in once the feminine has taken the energy, receive the energy, and then we can look at the structure of, let's transcend this energy and disperse it. What are the steps that we can actually put in place for you now? So being in that wise healing state of that feminine energy is paramount in allowing, and again, this can be in your career, this could be your 9 to 5, your workplace. If we know anything about productivity is about tickling the talent. If you're a leader and you're a manager of whatever it may be, productivity is the key aspect for any business, any company, any resource to move forward and flow. And as a leader, we need to be able to witness people that might be not working at their greatest potential. So how can you tickle the talent? How can you actually bring them into a space where they have been able to share possibly something that's blocking them? Because anyone that is blocked will decrease their potential. They'll be in a lower vibration, and what happens in a group of people, in any surroundings, whatever type of business or company or career that you're working in, if someone is down, people feel it. And ignoring it makes it worse. It will keep them down. So this is a really important aspect in the acknowledgement of energy around us as a wise healer, that our energy is the most important, that we've got to be able to have that open heart so we can be authentically present, so people can allow themselves to be presently vulnerable. So you can tickle the talent so they can get to their greatest purpose for the day, whatever it may be.
And speaking of holding the space for the other person to go really deep, Ken, you mentioned so many important points, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. before we talk about the depth of where wisdom truly leads us. So stay tuned for that. However, let's backtrack a little bit. And Kane mentioned something so important, and I can see in the chat that it resonates with many of us: safety. Whether we call it emotional vulnerability or we call it psychological safety, which is a fancy term in the corporate coaching, doesn't matter if you feel safe at your job or you feel safe in your relationship or you feel safe in your body, because many of us, speaking of trauma, sometimes we don't feel safe in our bodies. I used to have all kinds of issues because of my childhood trauma that resulted in me being completely out of touch with my body because I wasn't feeling safe in my body. And everyone here has probably experienced that in one way or another. Sometimes it could be as trivial as lacking financial safety. And as all of you here are familiar with Abraham Maslow, the hierarchy of human needs, if our foundation is rocky, we can fully evolve into wise healers. This is why I mentioned a couple of times the importance of having financial security. When we have financial security, just from an energetic standpoint, we can up-level our energy because we are not shrinking. When we have financial difficulties, when we have relationship difficulties, when we have emotional difficulties, this creates stagnant energy, right? I heard Andrea mention that she works with chakras, if I heard you correctly. I imagine most of you here work with chakras, or you are familiar with Kundalini rising and how our energy works. When your energy is trapped at survival and your root chakra is blocked, then you shrink. Literally, you shrink. Even if you don't realize it, if you look at yourself in the mirror, your posture is going to be slouching because the body keeps the score, as you know. Your nonverbal language truly indicates if you are a wise healer or if you are evolving towards a wise healer. The other very important thing Kane mentioned that I want to repeat is how powerful it is to be an active listener in your relationships, especially as a wise healer. Something that I learned after coaching so many people, especially men, what I learned that truly surprised me, even if you wish, is how little many of us require advice. Susan, you have the most infectious laughter. I can hear you, and I am just feeling your beautiful energy. Thank you. And going back to my point, very few of us actually need advice. What we actually need is to be heard, to be understood, to feel safe. And this is why Kane and I are very passionate about the feminine and the masculine energies, because how you know, as you know, how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you are an active listener, all of your relationships are going to be improved. And this is only when you are able to hold space for yourself. I cannot stress this enough. Active listening is not something you learn, although you can learn the mechanics of active listening for sure. However, if you just nod and do all the things that we have been taught in leadership, and your heart is closed, your mind is going off, and you're thinking about something else, or very often you're thinking about your own stuff, your inner chatter, and this creates a wall between you and the other person because the other person doesn't feel energetically invited to be in your space. The final thing I want to share here before we continue and get some of your questions in the chat. The other thing that I really want to focus on today, because it is very important in my opinion, very often I hear clients and people describing the process of being alone with your thoughts, and let me know if this resonates with you, as being scary. So many times I have heard people describe the process of being alone with your thoughts as scary. And I want to share with you that I have a lot of compassion for this process because this used to be me. In my early 20s, I was doing everything I can to be outside of myself. And if you remember, Kane talked about this in the very beginning, how sometimes we search for something external to fill our internal container. In my early 20s, I was going out dancing, I was volunteering, I was hanging out with friends, I was reading books, I was studying, I was doing all kinds of things that my rational mind identified as important. However, now that I know better, I hope I mean, all of us can hope that we know better with time, but you never know. But on a serious topic, as I look back, I was terrified of being alone with my thoughts because I knew that there was something clearly hidden that I wasn't accessing. And one more thing before we continue, as we mentioned in the beginning, the inner child. I know some of you here have worked with me or you know me from different events. You know that I'm very passionate about inner child work. For me, that's the first step that we all of us have to take before we do anything else. And I know some teachers refer to the inner child work as the inner boy and the inner girl. However, I personally prefer to call it the inner child because sometimes adding the gender qualifier could add all kinds of social conditioning. What does it mean to be a boy? What does it mean to be a girl? For example, very often when I work with men, they tell me that they have been brought up with conditioning that boys don't cry, boys are tough, or girls who have been raised with very masculine parents for whatever reason become too much in the masculine. They work like a guy, they think like a guy, right? And ultimately when we talk about the inner child work, and just to keep it short and sweet, the one thing that I would love for you to take from this masterclass, among many other takeaways, but the one thing that I would love for you to take is to remember that inside of your subconscious mind, and I am an NLP practitioner, neuro linguistic reprogramming, mindset reprogramming, an exercise I do all the time with my clients is, first of all, safety, acceptance. This is how you can enter your subconscious mind. And then I want you to imagine that you are facing a corridor. Ideally, I would do this if you have your eyes closed, but for the sake of keeping you engaged, you can keep your eyes open. And I want you to imagine that you are walking down a corridor, and every door that you see left and right represents a different part of your journey. And as you know, our brain doesn't hold on every single thing that has happened. It holds on very important events, whether this is a sexual assault, if you have dealt with that, whether it was your teacher telling you that you are not a good singer and you have communication issues your entire adult life because of this one comment, for example, whatever it is. So these are many different events that happened. And as you walk down the corridor, very uh, away in the back of the corridor, there is a room that is locked. And this room represents our childhood hidden memories. And many of us keep this door locked our entire lives. And this is how we never evolve from the wounded healer, because we have locked this door and we pretend out of sight, out of mind. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have this locked door. I know everything. You know how many people act like this? Ken and I talked about it as we were preparing for this event. I am so good. I mean, it's important to have confidence. I'm all about positive affirmations. However, it's also important to keep an open mind that chances are you don't know everything. You don't know what you don't know. So this door is locked. And speaking of the moon and how the moon always invites us to do a purging, every single moon cycle I find a new locked door. So I want to be very transparent to tell you that this is a lifelong journey. There will always be a locked door that you were not aware of. So again, to keep it short and sweet, there is this door that it is locked, and then you use your free will. Are you going to keep this door shut, or are you going to be brave? Kane talks a lot about courage. Are you going to have the courage to open the door and see what is inside? And what you're going to find out what is inside is a little child, which is you. And this little child is either playing, and if you find your inner child playing, things are good for you. If your inner child is happy and fun and is playing, awesome. You have reached a very high frequency. However, many of us open the door and we find our inner child like this, terrified, feeling abandoned, feeling scared, waiting for you to show up. I hope all of you understand that this is a metaphor. And then what do? Do you freak out? Do you say, I don't know what to do? Or especially those of you who are parents, you know, you have the instincts to hug the child, right? Hug the child, embrace the child in your arms, tell your inner child, your inner self, you're safe with me. I love you, you're safe with me. And then you take your inner child and you leave the room and you leave your inner child at the playground because your inner child deserves to play. And you, as an adult, as an evolved wounded healer, has to cultivate play, joy, and freedom.
You know, it's just beautiful that you brought up that beautiful concept of the child and the corridor and the doors, because I designed a visualization called the corridor of life, and it's on the same basis. And if I can just extend on what Anna Maria shared, because it's so pivotal to opening the doors in your corridor of life, is that if we can reflect upon what when a child comes into the world, all their doors are open in their corridor of life, right? And they have a thriving energy. And the more that we go through life and we shut doors on certain experiences and we haven't allowed those grieving aspects to take place for that particular event, the more that it affects our energy. And it doesn't go away. So I like to reflect that behind those doors is a knocking. So the more that we don't deal with something, the longer and more loud that the knocking becomes behind the door. Because what do they want to do? They want to become free. The inner child wants to be free. The inner child wants to play, wants to get out, wants to heal, wants to grieve the experience, wants to know that it's safe. So opening the doors and knowing that when we step down this corridor courageously, but also witnessing in a space of safety for our own self, allows us to tap into an internal energy source. The deeper that we go, the more the energy that we actually are allowing to flow through our bodies, because we're not constricting it. So when the doors are all open, there's a beautiful flow within our own channel, within our own corridor. And if there are any blocks of any sort, and this is where dis-ease comes into play, which is associated to a door being shut. If you've got a health problem somewhere in your body, then there's a shut door on something that hasn't been dealt with, and it gives you the ability to dive deeper. It's not just about treating it physically. It's about treating it deep inside of you and coming to the walking through the grieving process. And let me just be clear, grief, the acronym for grief, is graciously reclaiming inner self earns freedom, which is exactly what the inner child is looking for. It's looking for the freedom to play, right? So you need to allow yourself that grace in the grieving process of whatever circumstance has been there, so you can allow yourself to graciously reclaim your own freedom inside of you, because it's got nothing to do with the outside world. It's about rebuilding the inside for your energy, for your capacity to truly see and embody the love inside you that is always there. There is nothing wrong with anyone. No one is ever broken. It's just some doors that have been shut, that haven't been processed, to allow the freedom to come through.
And as we are now imagining open doors, first of all, thank you so much everyone for the comments in the chat. And speaking of that synergy that I feel all of us are developing together, I noticed someone mentioned that they were doing a reading and the visualization within a chat was the icing on the cake. This is exactly what happens when you live in perfect alignment with your soul activation. And when you step into that alignment as a wise healer, synchronicities are not random occurrences, they are a part of your existence. And ultimately, this brings us to the final step before we start painting the picture for what is possible on the other side. And the final step is truly realizing that all healing begins in your heart. As I tell my clients, you manifest with your heart and you execute with your mind, and not the other way around. And many of us have been conditioned to first start thinking about what do I want and how to get there. And yes, there it's important to have a structure. This is the masculine energy. If we don't have masculine energy to support the feminine, nothing is going to appear in the physical world. I love manifestation and I teach manifestation to my clients. And the imagery that I would love for you to picture is a beautiful photograph, like the most beautiful photograph you have ever seen, or a painting. This is the inception of the divine feminine energy, the inspiration. Without the frame to put it on the wall, there is no painting to be seen. So this is how the masculine and the feminine energies always support each other. And Kane would imagine, I imagine you would agree, that the masculine energy loves to be inspired. This is why across timelines, the masculine energy was searching for a muse, for an activation. And as we start building towards the mountain where the good life is, as I like to say, ultimately, when you become a wise healer, you really start prioritizing what is your heart telling you, what feels right. It doesn't have to feel right in your mind to feel right in your body and heart. Your intuition is your most powerful accountant. It registers every event you have experienced since you were a child. And this is why we talk about a wise healer, because when you have that kinesthetic wisdom, somatic embodied wisdom, you effortlessly release the fear of not being good enough. How? Because we only fear we're not good enough or worthy when we are inside our beautiful minds and we are going in circles. This is when we live by default. Every day feels the same because we are trapped in the same thoughts. Research suggests that many people, most people, have similar thoughts every single day. What do I have for breakfast? What do I have for lunch? How do I fulfill my needs? And so forth. So this is why when we evolve as leaders, as wise leaders and wise healers, our needs begin to shift, because as I told you before, we have paved the foundation. This is where our physiological, financial, emotional needs are being met. We value ourselves. We don't overstretch ourselves. We don't run on an empty engine. Very important. Just, I want you to imagine a container. This container is your abundance. Your container is bottomless. This is how you know that you're always supported and there is always more than enough pouring from the universe, or from God if you wish. And the same applies to everything else. We only start to shrink when we think that our container is empty, or when we compare our container to someone else's container.
And that's a really important aspect of imposter syndrome, is the comparison.
Yes.
Comparing someone else and their outcomes or their success to, and you might be on a similar road to them. And what everyone forgets about their existence is that everyone else has their own story. Everyone has their own journey, their own experiences, their own subconscious that has been developed with certain belief systems in different areas. So someone might have come through their acceptance of their subconscious behavior and broken through earlier than you. You can't compare someone else's success when you don't have any idea about what their story is. It's invalid. You can't compare anyone unless you know them so deeply and profoundly that you can then go, oh, how interesting. But then you won't compare because you go, wow, that's an extraordinary journey that you've had and beautiful discoveries. And what you'll discover is lessons for your own self, which will be internal. It won't be the physical things that person has created in their life. And this is part of the reason why autobiographies are so popular, because what do they talk about? They talk about all the struggles that they went through in their own journey, in their own stories, in their own lives, and the things that they still created. Ending most autobiographies, because it comes from a lot of successful people going, you can live your greatest potential if you overcome all the subconscious patterns and the beliefs and the stories that you've held and the experiences. And it's all about up-leveling your own self with more love. At the end of the day, it's all associated to the more love that you can have for yourself is going to be what you amplify out into the world, which is what you will magnetize towards you in the successful realm that you truly desire. And that imposter, because the imposter, if we were to look at what Andrea brought up earlier, she was having these doubts and things like that associated. The question would be, where is that coming from? What is that associated to? Is there a deeper thing there associated to something that a door that you can open to discover something associated to people being late, or people not turning up for you, or people like, I mean, I remember an experience where I was left at school and I was only in grade 4 or 5, and it was 5:30 in the afternoon, so I'd been at school for like over 2 hours, and I was shitting myself, and it had actually a really big indent into my psyche about being left behind, and that I wasn't worth thinking about. And my dad turned up, and he'd slept, he'd fallen asleep, and he'd forgotten to pick me up. But my inner child, that little me, looked at it from the aspect of going, I don't get thought about. So if we were to look at some past things from past events, if someone didn't turn up, I felt abandoned. So these are those aspects of, well, where are these feelings coming from? Why am I feeling like this? This is part of that stepping into that wise healer, because again, like I just shared, there was an aspect there that was associated to something that I needed to unravel this full moon, a little deeper version of me in the appreciation of that 12-year-old not being understood, and by his dad, not being understood by his dad. And why did that come up? Came up because I had a confrontation with him, and he just doesn't understand the things that I do now. He's old school of like, you should be out there in the garden or doing some sort of manual labor. That's how you work. He doesn't get the concept of using the mind to work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was it brought me back to that 12-year-old of going, that was at a period in my life where I was criticized, that there was something wrong with me, that I was different, so I should be, you know, put out to the side. I was creative, but then that being creative was classed as being gay or whatever, right? There was this such a criticism at 12 years old. So all I did was shrink into more of a shell at that age. I just wanted to hide and everyone just leave me alone. I'd just be by myself. These are the things that we open in that beautiful corridor, so we can just keep going, so we can have that container that Anna Marie is so brilliantly expressed, that container that's flowing, right? You should be overflowing in your container like a fountain. There should be a resource for you to be able to not rely upon anyone else to fill your container except for yourself, because you're the only one that controls your container. You're the only one that brings in that energy. So imposter syndrome can come from so many different avenues, from a door that has been shut for far too long in your own existence, that hasn't been open, or the courageousness to open it, to really embody it, which then leads into people pleasing. Mm-hmm. Now, this is one of the biggest challenges that people have, that I witness all of the time, associated to people not being able to share part of their life, because they're scared that someone will see it, that someone else will get affected by part of their story, and that's people pleasing. Because what are you doing? You're actually shrinking who you are based upon someone else's perceived opinions of what you're personally perceiving of what that person is going to think or project upon you. So you hold yourself back. You won't witness yourself and the beautiful life that you've had to become a wise healer. Because to become a wise healer, we have to be able to have a book of our lives that's open for everyone to see, so they can then learn lessons in the evolution of our existence, which is the evolution of our soul, the evolution of our healing, evolution of our presence, evolution of ourselves being a masculine or a feminine, and seeing the true empowerment of who we are in our journey. Because if we don't do it for ourselves, if we don't allow that to happen, especially in a place of leadership, then people will feel it. What did we talk about earlier about giving and receiving the energy? If you've got a shut book inside you and that's not allowed to be spoken about, that is a block. And that is a door shut. And people will feel that door shut. They'll feel like that there's something that you're hiding. It's not truly authentic. I remember having a conversation with a girl who I just met. And, you know, we're there for about an hour having a coffee and stuff like that. And I was just like talking about, yes, sexual soul, I've been through this, got a couple of kids when I was in my early 20s, and that was the debacle. And she was just like, oh my God, I just love how open you were just talking about this. She didn't know how to take me. In my experience, if you're meeting someone and you're able to share who you are, it allows other people to, you know, they can have their own judgments. It doesn't matter, because the most important judgment is the judgment that you have for yourself, which should be love for everything that you have. And if you haven't got that, again, it's going to a people-pleasing aspect. Well, I'll do something to make them happy, and I won't discuss this, or I won't do this. And that's self-sabotage. You're subconsciously self-sabotaging your own progression in any form: career, business, personal life, relationships. And I think this is fundamental. This is a really key aspect, because everyone has a relationship whether it's mother, father, children, partner, friends. Everyone has a relationship. The truest form of relationships is being authentic, no matter the circumstances, especially in intimate relationship. If you're married and there's hidden things inside you that you're not sharing, it's an energetic block which creates doubt. So when there's a heightened emotion of some sort of conflict within that relationship, and you haven't been truly truthful and open about all experiences in your life or certain aspects, it creates a block of doubt. That person won't know what it is, but it'll be there. And that is the importance of being so transparent in any intimate relationship, because it's in the truth of the transparency of your existence. If they judge you for your existence, why are you with them? That's what you have to ask. Because your existence is why you're with someone. Sorry, that was a little intense.
And Kane, actually something else that I believe is going to resonate with many of us, not just a romantic relationship. Choose alignment with your coaches, especially those of you who are entrepreneurs, especially in business. So many of us fall for or have seeked advice that is do this, do that, and your soul doesn't feel aligned. Why? Because we are special. The wise healers are different species. We don't do well with conventional marketing. We don't. Let's face it. If you're here, it's because you have been energetically drawn to us. As you know, Kane and I, all we do is share a story and our enthusiasm, and you feel drawn to it. And this is how we build our businesses, with authenticity, energy, and connection. What Kane said is so profound. So it is a topic for an entire masterclass. And let us know in the chat if you want to see more of us. However, I want to share something that may resonate with most of you or some of you who are watching the recording to tie the bow of this section. Ultimately, very often we talk about people pleasing. However, I feel like the other block that prevents us from stepping into becoming wise healers is when we are avoidant. In 2020, I was doing predominantly relationship coaching, and very often I was seeing partners, and this is based on science, how usually anxious attachment style, which is people pleasing, tend to get attracted to avoidant attachment style, which is emotional withdrawal. And why are we talking about this in the context of wise leadership? Because ultimately you have to figure out if you are um, dependent on other people's opinions or perceptions of you to be your authentic self. In other words, are you showing up a persona online that is not exactly you, and you feel it in your heart? You feel it. You do what your business coach tells you to do, and it doesn't feel like you. It doesn't sound like you, it doesn't feel like you, and you don't feel authentic. Not your fault. However, we are labeling the elephant in the room. You must be authentic. In your relationship, Kane gave a very good example. If you don't feel safe that you are fully accepted, this is not unconditional love. Unconditional love is when you first love and accept yourself so that you can love and accept your partner. And to give you one example from the other side, I used to be an avoidant attachment style. Speaking of the abandonment wound, I was raised, as I mentioned earlier, with a childhood trauma, and my mom was absent because she had to work. She had to support us, and I also had memories of being the only child waiting for my mom and hoping she's going to pick me up. And this could be traumatic, as you can imagine, if all of the kids have been picked up and you're the only child waiting. And ultimately, as I grew up, I moved to America when I was 17, and I had to become wiser beyond my years without my consent. What I mean is, that sounded hilarious. What I meant is that I had to become wise by survival. and on a serious topic, I always like to add humor. However, we're talking about serious events, as you can imagine. Ultimately, I completely shut down emotionally because I moved to a different country. I didn't speak English. The accent is still there. I had to figure out what to do with my life. You know, these are all questions that I asked myself at age 17. And ultimately, long story short, I had suffocated this trauma from my childhood. I had left many doors locked in my subconscious mind, as I told you earlier. And then I met my partner, who is going to be my husband this summer. However, when we thank you, when we first met, I was still caught up in this emotional withdrawal. He, on the other hand, was very open, very authentic. So that's why I laughed when Kane was sharing how he shared everything on the first date. This was my partner, and I freaked out. And this was all me. It was all me, because I wasn't ready for this level of authenticity. And the reason I'm telling you this is because sometimes we pray for something, and after we finally receive it, we don't know what to do with it, whether this is in our romantic relationship or in our success. So long story short, I went through my journey. I healed all these aspects of my subconscious mind that needed to be healed, and my partner and I got back together in the pandemic. And as you know, for couples, the pandemic revealed the essence of the relationship, and fortunately for us, it revealed that we are really good together. We're very compatible, and we are very authentic. So ultimately, the reason I'm telling you this is because how we show up in our relationships, as Kane said, is how we show up in our businesses, how we show up in our day-to-day activities, how we show up within ourselves. Even though authenticity is almost something we take for granted, it's not. It's not. Again, this is why we are referring to persona with capital P, which is as a term in psychology for that version of you that is a role, right? This is how you present yourself. This is Anna Maria, and I'm this, and that. Are you? So many of these labels that we put on ourselves are not who we are. This is why when you ask someone who you are, and they tell you their name, their occupation, their identity, this means that they are not fully sure who they are. Because who you truly are as an evolved healer is not your name, not your age, not your gender, not your money status, not your net worth, not your network, not your followers on social media, not any of these things, any of these metrics. Who you are in your heart is pure soul, a vibrational being that is so magnetic, that is so special. You have so many innate gifts and talents that you were being given for a reason. This is why all of us here started with wounded healers. We started with trauma, with abandonment issues, with low confidence, with insecurities, social anxiety, all kinds of things. And then we are presented an opportunity. A door is open, and then we are invited. But here is how the life works. The universe is not going to grab you and push you through the door. No. The universe is very gentle. The universe gives you nudges. The universe sends you synchronicities. The universe is, hey, you are special. And here is a door. And it's fully open. This is what the universe says. And Kate, actually, let's role play this with you. You're very good at these impromptu things. I'm going to be the universe, and you're going to be the wounded healer who becomes the wise healer. I'm the universe. Hey, Kane, I have a door for you. And you are the wounded healer first.
I'm not ready for it. Shut it.
I cannot shut it because I'm the universe and I never shut door on people.
But I don't feel like I'm worth it.
Here's the thing. This door now becomes a mirror. I reflect your thoughts. What you see is what you believe.
Really? But I don't believe I'm worth it. Like, why are you giving this to me? Like, it's just, why? It's too much pressure. I'm not ready.
Okay, so I as the universe, I amplify your thoughts. So now this mirror becomes very scary and distorted.
And now you're freaking me out. I want to hide in a little bubble and leave me alone.
And now it becomes really dark. And you cannot see anything.
I'm useless. I'm a piece of shit. No one will love me. No one will ever do anything with me. Maybe I should just end it. No one will notice.
And now the universe looks into your eyes, and these are your eyes. And let's say this is what we call a defining moment, a breaking point. Some people call it a depression. I don't really believe in depression. It's usually not. Whatever it is, this is the moment when you open your eyes.
Is that door really for me? I'm so scared. I know I can do it. I feel really petrified. I know I can do this. I know I can do this. I know I'm worth it. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm going to step through. Give me a second. Give me a second. Yeah. I can do this. I love where I've just arrived. Okay. Okay. I'm coming. I'm coming through. Thank you. That feels good.
And now everybody take a deep breath. Close your eyes, and I want you to imagine that in front of you there is a big door. Oh my gosh, this door is so big, and I want you to imagine that it feels like heaven. However, you're very much alive. And it's so inviting. You feel it in your pores, in your bones, in your tissues. Every fiber of your beautiful being is so ready. You've been waiting for this your entire lives. This is the moment today, not tomorrow, not yesterday. Right now, at this very moment, you're so ready to walk through this door and step into your most authentic, radiantly positive, joyful, happy, appreciated, valued, recognized self. As you walk through the door, I invite you to open your heart. Open your heart and fill your heart with gratitude and true acceptance that everything that happened in your life was meant to happen. All of the tears, all of the disappointments, all of the moments when you felt lost, frustrated, not good enough, you felt small, you felt unworthy, you felt like a piece of shit. No, you now wake up, you now see that nothing happened to hurt you. You were born because you were capable before you were born to deal with these challenges. You were born to become a wise healer. You were born to transform others with your presence. You were born to be so financially prosperous that you don't have to work a day in your life, and instead you can spend your days helping and empowering others. I invite you to dissolve and eradicate any stories you have ever told yourself that are not true. You are worthy. You are enough. You are more than enough. You have always been enough, and it is your time to shine. It is your time to share your light with the world. It is your time to fulfill all of your desires and more. It is your time for you to be an example of inspired leadership. It is your time to show the world who you are. And who you are is a beautiful energy of love, a beautiful energy of acceptance, a beautiful energy of courage, alignment, and equanimity with the source. Take a deep cleansing breath. And as you arrive back and open your eyes, we have completed today's mission to become wise healers. All of you here who are with us live, please stay on the call for our special bonus, the live Q&A with takeaways that you can share off the record. For those of you who are watching the recording, look at the description to see the PDF with the 8 steps you can take. Of course, if you want to get in touch with me and Kane, we are here to hold the door and the mirror for your magnificence. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'm going to see you. We are going to see you on the top.